we start with the latest with Aaron Rodgers, who took to Instagram late last night with what some might describe as a vague but thankful post where he referred to it as Monday Night Gratitude. Within the post, Rodgers thanked, and I quote, "the men I got to share the QB room with every day, my teammates past and current," end quote. That in the moment, Gary, was a post that felt ominous. But then today, Rodgers joined the Pat McAfee show, which he does all season long in his regular Tuesday spot, and said there would be no decision on his future at the moment. So what do you make of the Rodgers post and then his comments and appearance on the show in the day to follow?
I mean, who knows, right? It was sweet. The sentiment of the post was sweet, but it certainly seemed to suggest he was saying goodbye to Green Bay, even with the picture you saw there where you have Randall Cobb, Davante Adams, and that space in between them where he normally stands for the national anthem. And then he comes on Pat's show today and says, no, I haven't made a decision yet, and there will be no announcement today. So he's a smart enough guy to know that when he did what he did last night, it was going to turn into arguably the biggest story in American sports today. And then he comes on a radio show and, diffuses the whole thing. It's just the latest unusual thing connected to Aaron Rodgers. But I'm still at the point where until he says, I'm not playing football next season or I'm not playing in Green Bay next season, I'm going to assume that he'll be a Packer. Yeah,
I mean, I thought there was a lot to sort through. I feel like the post was a chance to truly provide some thanks for what was a season that was just full of distraction that he caused at times. And today on the show, on the Pat McAfee show, I thought the biggest point and takeaway for me was that he recognized that it affected a lot of people around him. And that's really what the post, now looking at it after his comments, was about. Almost a thank you for the season and an understanding and an acknowledgement that I put you through something with some of my actions and comments.
He literally mentioned that, said that he did not recognize in real time how his controversial comments were going to bring his ex-fiancée at this point, into a place where she maybe wasn't comfortable. He thought his words would maybe only impact him. He was so locked in, he didn't realize a lot of people were catching, as he put it, shrapnel, in response to his reactions, and he wanted to apologize to them, which again, it was a sweet sentiment.
Yeah, the story continues, and there's going to be a conclusion to it here in the days and weeks to come as the NFL calendar, it stops for no one. And just to put a bow on this, though, the Davante Adams side of this, in your sense, and obviously I'll chime in here too, is there a scenario where he would play in Green Bay if Davante Adams were not in Green Bay, and maybe not in Green Bay long term? Because that's really where the rub is.
I guess I'd leave some wiggle room and say there's a chance he would play in Green Bay without Davante Adams, but clearly he doesn't want to do that. I don't think Aaron Rodgers, at this point in his career, coming off another MVP, back-to-back MVP seasons, wants to operate with an inferior offense. And any offense that doesn't have Davante Adams is inferior to one that does. So clearly that's a priority for Aaron Rodgers. And if you're Green Bay and you are working like crazy to get him back for at least another season, and by all accounts they are, that seems like it's got to be a natural step.
Yeah, there's no shot where Davante Adams isn't playing in Green Bay next year outside of some sort of trade or some real maneuvering as the organization to gain something from allowing arguably the best wide receiver in the game to go. It's just a matter of whether it's a long-term situation that they're able to come to, an agreement they're able to come to over the next couple of weeks or months. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be following that as he then makes his decision. But again, these are things that we figured out here in the days and weeks to come. And man, it keeps getting more interesting. Steelers general manager Kevin Colbert met with the media yesterday for his annual pre-combine availability. And Colbert, who will step down as the team's general manager after this year's draft, was asked about the quarterback situation now that Ben Roethlisberger has officially retired. Colbert said that if the season were to start today, that Mason Rudolph would be the starter, Gary, and that he is excited to see what he can do. That is a statement, though, on its surface, maybe taken as news, but it's really just semantics when we think about it, with free agency and the draft still on the horizon. Rudolph is 5-4-1. He's had ample opportunity to show the Steelers and the league whether or not he's a quarterback you can count on to win consistently. So do you think he will be the answer in Pittsburgh this coming season?
I don't think they want him to be. I mean, he phrased it very intentionally, if the season started today. But the season doesn't start today. It starts after the 2022 NFL Draft. It starts after free agency. And I would assume a franchise that is so used to winning, like this Pittsburgh franchise, is going to look for a different option at quarterback. I bottom line it this way. If Mason Rudolph is starting for the Steelers in week 1, they probably didn't get done this offseason what they wanted to get done.
I would agree with you. I look at this as a situation where you have a team that is ready to compete in an ultra-competitive division. Now that we have Cincinnati emerging as not just a playoff team, a Super Bowl caliber team, you think the Browns will bounce back, you have to imagine. And the Ravens, when healthy, have been the class of the division the last 2 years. So this is a team that with a franchise caliber quarterback can compete not just to be in the playoffs, but compete for Super Bowls. And I just don't think Mason Rudolph, in what is a legitimate sample size, has proven to be able to do that. So, again, these are the dominoes that will continue to fall over the next days and weeks. And a lot has been made this week about the LeBron James comments about his future over the weekend. These made headlines when he said he wanted to play his final season in the NBA with his son, Bronny. But could James Gary be out of LA before that? According to a report from Bleacher Report, the relationship between the Lakers and Clutch Sports, which is led by LeBron's agent, is at a low point, that being Rich Paul, after the team's decision not to trade Russell Westbrook and a future first-round pick for John Wall at the trade deadline. LeBron is eligible for a 2-year max extension in August, and if he doesn't extend, Gary, he would be a free agent in 2023. So are we seeing the final seasons, games, however you want to phrase it, of the LeBron James era in LA?
Well, he's under contract for one more season. I'm assuming he's going to be in LA for that one, but there is no denying he spent All-Star Weekend trying to make a lot of points very publicly. Like, he went out of his way to compliment Sam Presti over and over again, the Oklahoma City general manager. And you know that Rob Pelinka is hearing that. It'd be like if I were in your presence and I would constantly talk about, isn't Tracy Wolfson just amazing on the sideline? At some point you'd be like, yo, Tracy's great, but like I'm sitting right here. He also complimented the Rams recently, in the sense that the Rams went for it, was willing to give up all these draft picks to go try to win a championship now. He clearly wanted the Lakers to do something at the trade deadline. They didn't, and he seems frustrated by that.
Michigan head coach Juwan Howard would be suspended for the rest of Michigan's regular season after his altercation with a Wisconsin assistant coach on Sunday. Gary, simply put, was this the right decision?
It seems fair to me. Now, if they would have decided to move on from Juwan, fire him, I wouldn't have been the guy standing up saying, how could you do this? Because he literally hit an assistant coach from Wisconsin in the face in the handshake line. Like, that is outrageous behavior. I promise you he will never be able to get away with something like this again. He is on a zero-tolerance policy now. But 5 games, the rest of the regular season, seemed right, about right, fair. I think everybody can understand that that's a reasonable place to land on this.
Quickly, it sort of gained some steam, this idea, as we do. We discuss things and try and take the next step. The idea of getting rid of the post-game handshake. I was with Tom Izzo as he went off today. Where do you come down on it?
I'm with Tom on this. The post-game handshake line is not a problem 99.9% of the time. So we don't need to get rid of it. We need to get rid of coaches who hit other coaches in the handshake line. You know, just because Juwan Howard lost his cool and clearly went over the line this weekend doesn't mean we need to do away with this thing that has largely been no problem at all for decades. So I'm with Tom Izzo on this one. The handshake line is a perfectly reasonable thing. It almost always goes well. You shouldn't let this one incident dictate how we're going to do things in the sport from coast to coast going forward.
And it's an opportunity, finally, to show sportsmanship, which is an incredibly important thing at all levels, and especially at the highest level of college basketball. The Nets' second half will be blank.
I'll go positive. I am somebody who actually thinks that the Nets got better at the trade deadline, even in the absence of James Harden. Obviously, Harden's terrific, one of the greatest scorers in the history of the sport, but Brooklyn's got enough scores. Kevin Durant can score the ball, Kyrie Irving can score the ball. Now they add in Ben Simmons, somebody who can guard other teams' best perimeter players well. He is an all-defense type of guy in the NBA when healthy and playing. He doesn't need to get shots to be effective, might not even want shots to get effective. I think this Brooklyn team, with the deal it made at the trade deadline, has got an opportunity to not only win the East, but win the whole thing. All right, Evan, some NFL trade rumors heating up. Jimmy Garoppolo in Tampa Bay this season would be
poetic. I'm going to have to go up here because you're taking up a lot of real estate down here, buddy.
I can't reach up there.
It's been a while. So, obviously, Garoppolo started in New England behind Tom Brady. Depending on who you believe, maybe Brady said, all right, we need Jimmy G out of here. He goes to San Francisco, takes them to a Super Bowl, has proven to be capable enough to be a playoff caliber quarterback. And look, Tampa is going to have a bit of a regression without Tom Brady there. Who knows what their roster is going to look like once this offseason is complete. But in that division, they can compete. And I think Jimmy G's a guy that can help lead them back to the postseason and be a team that can make a run again in the NFC. All right, let's move on to our next one here. New member of the Pelicans, C.J. McCollum, not having spoken to Zion Williamson yet is
weird. Now, it should be noted that CJ said earlier today that he and Zion have connected since his interview All-Star Weekend when he said, I have not talked to Zion Williamson. I've just talked to some people around him who are close to him. But still, let's go back to weird. Why would Zion, who's supposed to be the face, the everything of this franchise, not reach out to a guy who is one of the best players in the world who just joined your team? It's just the latest weird thing connected to Zion in that situation. Maybe it's resolved now, but it's not a good look.
Yeah, you're getting right to the point with your words. I like it.
I can't go up here, so I'm just going to keep going down until we're done. The Ravens offense in 2022 will be...
This is why I have a note card, everybody, because I need to know how to spell this correctly. Scrutinize.
Oh, good luck.
S-C-R-U. All right. See, I wanted to prove that I was an English major at the University of Delaware. Look, the Ravens offense 2 years ago, 2019 season, rewrote the record books, especially in the run game. They regressed last year, but showed flashes in the pass game before they were riddled by injuries specific to Lamar Jackson. They're coming into this season with all eyes on Greg Roman, offensive coordinator, all eyes on that guy, Lamar Jackson, not knowing what his contract will look like. Hopefully they stay healthy and they can regain that form. But if they don't get back to that type of production and compete with, again, the Bengals and the Browns and maybe the Steelers in that division offensively, man, there's going to be a lot of decisions to be made that could be lasting there in Baltimore after this season.
Well, there's no question. Lamar Jackson once was the king of that division, and now maybe Joe Burrow has taken that crown. And Lamar, of course, former MVP. They've got to bounce back this upcoming season, or else, like you said, a lot of scrutiny.
Who won? I mean, poetic, scrutinized, you went positive, weird. You're positively weird, man.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a good description.
Maybe this speaks to who we are.
You've got better handwriting, better hair, better everything.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell for more videos.